the credentials of the APC presidential candidate and some of the issues surrounding it. And you said that the ruling party is buying more time to damage the reputation. And one will be asking, yes, to what effect would that be? Why would they want to? Because General Buhari will be facing a candidate who has been in office who can show his performance as
there's
a performance for running. What do you mean there's no performance to show?
Listen. 5 years ago, Nigerians gave to President Jonathan a whole territorial sovereignty of Nigeria for him to manage. He's coming back 5 years later to ask for our votes without the complete territory in his hands.
Is that his fault?
How? He's your commander-in-chief.
Insurgency, is he not fighting? No. Is he not fighting that insurgency?
You are commander-in-chief.
Yes.
Don't cry like a baby. Oh, people are distracting me. Oh, external forces. It is the opposition. You are crying like a baby. Deal with the situation. You are commander-in-chief. That is why you were elected as commander-in-chief. If you cannot quit the stage, because as we speak with you now, if you don't know, the whole of Borno is under the firm control of insurgents, except 4 towns, except Maiduguri, Konduga, and maybe 2 other towns that are completely under the control of insurgents. Now, actually, of course, in Yobe, they had even entered up to Damaturu. In the whole of the dynamics of war, do you know what it means for the enemy to advance into your capital territory? They advanced twice that they attacked Damaturu, they were repelled. Up to about 2 months ago, they were in firm control of 7 local governments in Adamawa State. They have now been repelled and they are in control of about 2 or 3 local governments in Adamawa State. And they asked the question, Shehu, what is going on?
How about
what is going on?
You said that he is a commander-in-chief.
Yes.
The efforts that have been made, the call for the international community to come to the aid of Nigeria, the issue of buying arms and ammunition and the weapons for the army
How
to
did
fight,
we get to this
and
point?
the funds, the state of emergency that was declared, are those not
How did we get to this point? How? Because he failed to nip it in the
Will
board.
it be fair for you to blame the president for the insurgency?
Who else do you blame? Because he's the commander-in-chief.
It is not cause it,
We
is fighting
handed
it.
over to you a complete territory 5 years ago. Take care of the territorial sovereignty of Nigeria. And look, listen, Chewu, if I give you a property to manage, and then you return it 5 years later with a deficit, will it be right for you to ask me for more time to give you to manage that property again? I'm going to take it away from you.
But this is
you are coming back to me with a deficit of
Mr. Keyamo, this is the kind of scotch that has fought most advanced countries of the world.
No, listen.
And they deal with it in their own way.
Tell me, the insurgents, because you see adverts on the television saying that we should support Jonathan like it happens in Britain, America, they stood behind the president. Tell me whether the insurgents are in control of any of these territories. Before Jonathan, the insurgents were just a ragtag army. They were not in control of any territory. They were just hiding in, enclaves like Sambisa and all that, coming to attack and robbing. They were not in control of any territory. It is under his watch that lives and limbs have been so destroyed by the insurgents, under his watch. Listen, you cannot, in terms of the character, the skill, and the military know-how to deal with the insurgents, you cannot compare Jonathan to General Buhari, who had actually fought a war in this regard, a war of secession, who led troops to a war of secession.
And about 3 decades ago.
Yes, completely. So you cannot say
strategies of fighting terrorism and fighting a conventional war. Of course, you know that those are different.
But this is now, it is secession. They are in control of a territory. You cannot compare the two. Look, listen, Shehu, in saner societies, this is a time you even beg people like General Buhari to come out of retirement to lead. All of this mud you are throwing at him is very unfair, because I said this is a person you will beg in times of crisis like this to come and rule. You beg him. You don't put him under this kind of.
We're talking about the issue of the postponement. So if the National Security Advisor is saying there are fears that Nigerians should not be disenfranchised, or fears that Nigerians may be disenfranchised if this election happens as scheduled. Don't forget, in 2011, the election was rescheduled because of some issues. So you think that we should go ahead and disenfranchise Nigerians?
I am telling you that, look, anybody who does not come out to collect his PVC, he will have himself to blame. All INEC needs to do is to make sure the PVCs are available before the end of January. That is their job. Once they are available and you fail to come and collect your PVCs, then INEC cannot be held responsible for your failure to collect the PVCs. But I'm telling you that that is not the real intention of asking for postponement. It is not. Because the ruling party has an agenda, and that is the agenda they want to fulfill.
If you are a strategist, Mr. Keyamo,
yes,
for example, for a political party, do you think it's wise enough to put a strategy of postponement of election forward?
Oh, yes,
so what effect would that be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I told you before now, that the message out there, even on the campaign trail, is that the momentum is behind the opposition candidate. And they want to halt that momentum by every means possible. Look, listen, I want to ask you this. On the campaign trail, have you ever seen that the ruling party is concentrating its efforts on telling Nigerians what they want to do about insurgency and corruption? I have not seen adverts on that. All the 95% of adverts they have spent billions of naira on is on the person of Buhari. Say, for example, the 1984 records. They go to the east and say, he arrested your son, Jim Wombodo. He jailed your son. It's divisive politics. You come to the west, you say, he arrested your son, Awolowo. He arrested your son. What kind of politics is that? You are whipping up ethnic sentiment on the campaign trail. Dividing Nigeria into pieces by your campaign. That is what they are doing. Whipping up sentiment. And let me tell you where they are missing it. In the dynamics of politics, every campaign has its issues. This campaign is not about human rights. If it were about human rights, we will listen to you. But this is not human rights. Why? Because we have a constitution in place now. We have a judiciary without outside clauses in place. We have a National Assembly in place. So you cannot come and tell people like us that a president will come and throw everybody into jail. Like they are saying in all the adverts. Oh, he did it before. He's going to come now and throw everybody into jail. That is complete rubbish. It's just complete this. So all the adverts have been about your record in 1984. Your record in 1984. What people campaigned on paper, for example, Jimmy Carter, campaigned about in 1970-something, cannot be what Obama will campaign about now. Because the dynamics of politics change. The issues at stake now, as it is now, the issues at stake is about corruption, insurgency, and the economy. Now, even on corruption, I have said before that the president has absolutely no revulsion against corruption. He has none. Look, you want to campaign on issues of corruption. What did you do? You appoint somebody who is facing trial for corruption as your spokesman, as your director of media and publicity. What kind of revulsion is that? You tell me that he has not been convicted.
He has not been
convicted. Now go and release all the robbers facing trial in Kirikiri prison and appoint one of them as your chief security advisor. If you tell me that there's no moral question about somebody facing trial for corruption, if you tell me there's no question about it, there's no moral question, go and release all the armed robbers in Kirikiri now waiting trial and make one of them your Minister of Defense.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, because of our time, can you tell me, we are going into a very critical time. Voters are ready.
Yes.
In any case, we've seen what has happened in Katsina, in Bauchi. We saw what has happened in Rivers State. Tell me, the Abuja Peace Accord that was signed by the candidates, what do you think is the level of compliance now?
No, it is only a moral document. It's not a document that is legally enforceable. You don't sign a document not to commit a crime. Violence is a crime. And so the law imposes it upon you to maintain law and order. So you don't have to agree not to commit a crime for you not to commit a crime. And let us get this issue of violence happening all over the country in pure perspective. I was listening to the governor of Bauchi State this morning. I was reading him. He said, look, the violence that took place in Bauchi was by members of the PDP. Organized against other members of the PDP.
You think that's rational?
No, but it came from no less a person than the governor of Bauchi State himself. And he said so.
Allegedly.
No, he said so. It was reported in papers. He was saying that there are divisions within the party. If you know what happened within the PDP in the last primaries, the disaffection within the PDP across the state, across the country, 95% of their candidates were imposed. 95% of them. You saw them on your program. You saw them on your program.
Based on your own claims, the PDP will say they don't have such things.
No, but you saw the disaffection. People came on your program ranting.
Which the party...
I have my chambers in Abuja is full of pre-election matters.
The party says
on some matters.
Just normal in any political setup.
People who took primaries from the state to Abuja, to hold primaries in Abuja. So where did the delegates come from? Or you don't know that some people went to Abuja to hold primaries in some states? Where did those delegates come from in Abuja that voted in Abuja? It only happened in the PDP. So the disaffection within the PDP is so profound that some of this violence is coming from within themselves.
All right. Mr. Keyamo, please, because of our time and we need to get a balanced perspectives on this issue, tell me before I allow you go, sir, tell me, we are entering into a very critical time. Tell us, John Kerry is in Nigeria at the moment, and a lot of people have their eyes on this election. What is important for us to do as a nation to get it right? Just briefly.
One, that we need to shun violence at all costs. Secondly, and most importantly, the president must give a commitment that the votes must count. The votes must count, that Nigerians, their wish should be reflected in the result of the election. Anything short of that would be disastrous. And then he should not allow the rise of the mafias. The mafias are right. You can see people are threatening now that if he's not re-elected, there will be war. If he not do this, you see, under your leadership, there cannot be the rise of the mafias. That is what they call the protection racketeering in old Sicilian, the Sicilian mafia and the Krisha of Russia. If you know how those mafia arose, it's because of the collapse of the state and, of course, the overwhelming of the security forces. These people are overwhelming security forces by making statements. They cannot arrest them. The other time, you remember, somebody called me to my phone and said he was going to kill me. One of the president's boys. And I reported him to today.
Those are claims.
I
reported him
to today. I have the call log and everything, and nothing has been done. And I'm in court over that matter. That is the kind of thing we are facing. It's the rise of the mafias. This government is not a government, it's a mafia.